you made that example again because you talked about the bread, and I know you've talked about glucose a lot, and it's aging, and I loved it when you gave that little secret about the metformin that I talked to my doctor about recently. So if somebody's having rosacea, if that is one of the issues, is that a good thing for them to talk to their doctors about as well? That little
Well,
anti-aging secret you gave us?
I don't think there's necessarily any studies that have been done specifically having to do with metformin and
Mm-hmm.
rosacea. Theoretically, in my opinion, I think it could possibly be helpful now, because what it does is it prevents that sort of dumping of glucose. So for those of you who don't know what metformin is a drug for type 2 diabetes, but it's currently going through the FDA as approval as an anti-aging drug. So what they found is that people that might have type 2 diabetes, maybe they're elderly, and maybe they're overweight and they're couch potatoes and they don't have a very good diet, that they actually on metformin live somewhere like 4 to 6 years longer than someone else who has a great diet and gets exercise and is very healthy. And metformin comes from the lily plant. It was actually discovered in 1922 and it went into prescription use in 1972. So it's been used on just millions and millions and millions of people. It's a very, very safe medication because basically all it does is it keeps your liver from dumping all of this glucose. So as we get older, our liver over time loses the ability to be able to fully
Filter.
prevent that. And in diabetes, your glucose levels go way up. And that also contributes to acne. So
Oh.
what metformin does, it only works when you take it. If, for example, if you took it one day and didn't take it the next, you're right back where you started. So it's not something that has some kind of lingering effect or side effect. And it simply keeps that from occurring. And so most of the researchers that I know, including my own personal physician, but virtually, I mean, every one of them, they all take metformin. They've taken it now for years
Wow.
because of the fact that it has anti-aging benefits. And what they speculate is that metformin releases tiny bits of free radicals into cells. Now that sounds like a bad thing, but that's where it gets very complicated. Free radicals, there's no like 100% this is bad, this is good. And what that does is that little bit of free radical turns on anti-aging genes called sirtuins.
Citrons.
So sirtuins are kind of like a car sitting in your driveway. Great condition, it's all shiny. It looks like it's new and it's running, but it's just sitting there because it doesn't have the gas or it doesn't have something to put the foot on the pedal to make it run. So there's certain things that can actually provide those elements to make those sirtuins kind of turn on. Metformin appears to be one of them, and it's probably a lot more complex than that, but I think it holds tremendous promise.
Well, that's really interesting because
And
it's
by the way, in
interesting.
the studies on metformin, it significantly lowers the risk for cardiac disease, Alzheimer's. There's so many different elements that
Right.
we're concerned about
Right.
that it significantly
Right.
lessens the
Right.
risk.
Yeah, my girlfriend's doctor, when I talked to her about it, said he's had her on it for a long time because of her cancer scares, and he says it really is lowering the risk for her lymphoma
Yes,
to be elevated. So he's had her on
yes,
it for
and
about 3 years.
they're finding that it lowers your risk for cancer and maybe even certain types of cancers in particular.
Well, it makes
But
sense because glucose is so related to all of
mhm,
those diseases. It's inflammation, so that's that's really interesting. Well, I'm glad we worked that one back in.
yeah, cancer cells really love sugar,
Yeah, they do.
most of them.
So we've talked a lot about what diet